Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushua, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles, the elders. Salutations to you, sincere brothers, teaching in truth and in sincerity. And this lesson will be entitled Elijah's Unnatural Death. 2 Kings 2:11. And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. When we investigate went up, in the Hebrew, it's Ilah. Strong's H 5927, Ilah. And according to outline of biblical usage, to go up, ascend, climb. When we utilize a spiritual perspective, and Elijah ascended up by a whirlwind into heaven, or Elijah climbed up by a whirlwind into heaven, you can equate went up to a form of death. However, Elijah did not die an ordinary death. And let's prove that Elijah had a death. Ecclesiasticus 48 and verse 12. And also all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua. Priest Shaquat brought this precept out at camp on yesterday. Ecclesiasticus 48 and 12. Elijah it was who was covered with a whirlwind, and Elisha was filled with the Spirit. While he lived, he was not moved with the presence of any prince, neither could any bring him into subjection. Verse 13, no word could overcome him, and after his death, his body prophesied. And I'll read that again. No word could overcome him, and after his death, his body prophesied. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. When Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven, this was a form of death. When you define the term death, it means when the body is separated from the spirit, or the process when the spirit is separated from the body. Okay, let's go to Hebrews 11 and verse 5. By faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because the Most High had translated him. For before his translation he had this testimony that he pleased the Most High. Let's investigate the term translated.
Strong's G 3346. Metatithemi. Metatithemi.
Okay. According to outline of biblical usage, to change. By faith Enoch was changed that he should not see death, and was not found, because the Most High had changed him. For before his translation he had this testimony. Change or translated. Change or translated, okay, means what? That Enoch spirit was separated from that fleshly body, and he received a spiritual body before entering into the spiritual world. He had to be changed. He was translated. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. You can equate that went up to translated. Elijah had to be changed before entering into that whirlwind or that chariot. Okay? He had to be translated. Okay? His spirit was removed from that fleshly body, and he received a spiritual body before he entered into that chariot of heaven. This is a form of death. But Elijah and Enoch had an unnatural death. And let's prove that. When we go back to Hebrews 11 and verse 5, and when we investigate death,
Strong's G 2288, Thanatos. Thanatos.
according to outline of biblical usage, 1a, that separation, whether natural or violent, of the soul and the body by which the life on earth is ended. Enoch nor Elijah died from a natural or violent matter. They were translated, from an unnatural manner. Now, when we focus on Elijah, 2 Kings 2:11, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. This is how he was translated. This was not from a natural manner or a violent manner associating with death. No, he was translated by entering into a whirlwind. He was changed from that standpoint. So this is an unnatural death. Because what does death mean? The process when the spirit is separated from the body. Elijah's spirit had to be separated from his fleshly body before he entered into that holy chariot. And let's prove that. Verse 12, and Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more. And he took hold of his own clothes and rent them in two pieces. Verse 13, he took up also the mantle. And when you investigate the term mantle in Hebrew, it means his garment of Elijah that fell from him and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. So what happened? On this particular day, you had Elijah and Elisha interacting. And during this interaction, a chariot along with more chariots appeared, and a particular chariot summoned Elijah upward. And as he was moving upward, going into that chariot, Elijah's body decomposed, and he received a spiritual body. And as that body was decomposing, his garment fell down. That's the reason why Elisha was able to get his garment. You cannot enter into a chariot with a fleshly body. You have to be changed. You have to be translated. All right. So Elijah had an unnatural death. He was translated by a whirlwind. He did not see death from a natural standpoint or a violent standpoint. It was unnatural. And the same thing happened to our forefather Enoch. And when you go to 2 Corinthians, the 15th chapter, Lord will, we are the hopeful elect. We will go through this same process. We have to be changed before entering into those holy chariots. And I spoke on this in my last video. So Lord will, you were edified. Death is nothing but when the spirit is separated from the body. And you have three forms of death: from a natural standpoint, a violent standpoint, or an unnatural standpoint. And Elijah and Enoch was translated from an unnatural standpoint. Lord will, you are edified. Shalom.